I'll move the agenda be adopted.
Okay, motion by Conrad to move the agenda. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Second by Richard. All in favor? Opposed? Sorry, I got to scroll across the bottom. Looks like everybody. That's carried. Pardon me. You also have the minutes of our last meeting on April the 14th. Looking for a motion to receive those minutes.
Curtis.
Curtis received. Do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second it.
that.
Sorry, who is that?
Ron.
Who second? Ron? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe it'd be best if we could just unmute and then just say, because I've got to flip across the bottom here and I'm not really all that active on the computer. So, is there any comments or concerns about the minutes from the last meeting?
I just have a comment about resolution 087. I think it would be a little bit more informative if the dollar amount of the tender was included in the resolution.
Okay, is that okay to do that, Diana?
I think what you'd have to do do that is amend the resolution to state the dollar amount, and I believe you could do that during business arising.
Okay, we can bring that up in business arising from the minutes, and then we can have a discussion whether we're going to bring that forward. Any other questions or concerns? All in favor of receiving the minutes as presented? Opposed? That's carried. All right. Business arising from the minutes. Richard, did you want to bring that up?
Yeah, I'll bring forth a resolution just to amend resolution number 087 to include the dollar amount of the tender.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second it.
Second by Conrad. Any discussion, Richard?
Nope.
Conrad?
No.
Any other discussion from remainder of council? Okay, all in favor of amending the resolution? Anyone opposed? And that's carried. So we will amend that to include the tendered amount. Excuse me. All right, moving on to the 2019 bylaw report, bylaw department. We have Joe with us this evening. He's went through and I'm assuming him and Tracy has went through and provided this report to us. Lots of information, graph charts, etc. Joe, do you have anything to add? And then what we'll do is we'll turn it over to council if they have any questions.
I prepared a bit of a PowerPoint, but maybe I'll just go over the changes in service. So in 2019, there was 291 traffic stops in comparison to 2018 with 438. Nuisance abatement properties in 2019 was 164 versus 91 in 2018. 55 skunks in 2019 versus 28 in 2018. 436 dog files in 2019 versus 249 dog files in 2018. And the overall numbers were 1,908 case files in 2019 versus 57 78 case files in 2018. The biggest change for this department was our crime prevention strategy. 45 case files for graffiti, 403 solar lights given out to the public, and then work on a private camera registry as well.
Okay.
As far as going forward from 2019 to 2020, we're going to continue to offer our graffiti paint kit program. We're currently working with the provincial prosecution branch for fine options, which is unavailable in our area currently. But when it does become available, our goal is to have some work placements for graffiti removal and garbage cleanup within the city. And this will be a partnership with the bylaw department and the parks department. The city has applied for 2 grants through SGI, a public safety grant for improved pedestrian crossings within the city, and a car seat grant, which is the same as what we did last year. And then taking over EMO duties from Neil was the other big change from 2019 to 2020.
Okay. Okay, are there anyone that has any questions for Joe?
Just one question. The signing at the McDonald's crosswalk there, is that Joe's just whatever department, or is that Public Works?
That's Public Works.
Okay, yeah, the signs are wrong the way.
Okay, I can contact you about that
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah, no.
I was just wondering how many actual excessive barking tickets were issued last year.
Sorry, what was that, Richard? I didn't catch it all.
There was a mention of excessive barking, but it doesn't state how many actual tickets were given out last year for excessive barking.
There was 1.
And also a couple of weeks ago, I brought up a concern about the illegal commercial signs posted throughout the city advertising ExploreNet. And I was just wondering if the city had contacted anybody yet about them.
Who did you talk to, Richard?
I'd sent an email to Diana.
Sorry, Richard, I'll look back. I didn't receive an email about ExploreNet signs.
It's
Rich, is that the ones that are kind of,
Like
is that the ones that are posted on the
removable
power
signs?
poles, et cetera?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're contravening the zoning bylaw. Commercial signs aren't supposed to be on public property.
Those were the signs you mentioned on power poles, right?
Yeah. And their phone number's on the sign, so you should be able to contact them.
Yeah, I think that's a bylaw that it can't be on SAS power poles, if I remember correctly from years past.
Yeah, we can definitely look into this. I mean, this is about really the annual report for 2019, but we can look into that for sure.
Okay, are there?
I got a question here for Joe.
Yep, go ahead, Curtis.
Hi, Joe. Curtis here. I just wanted you, Joe, to explain the process that you and your cohort go through with identifying potential properties that need remedy, particularly after the melt year's gone. The snow was hiding a lot of things, and now that the snow is gone, those are visible to the public. And I've had a few people sort of ask me about what the process is about IDing those properties and then going down the road to mitigate it.
Yep, for sure. So currently we're dealing with properties that have been reported to the city first. So we do a initial inspection, talk to the tenant or landlord, or the owner if it's there. Dependent on what we find, we can do an order to remedy, which we do have to give them 15 days to clean it up on their own. before the city can take further action on that. And we try to keep pretty tight to those timelines, and not let things stand for too long. We did start issuing orders this week.
For sure.
And Joe, is that completely complaints driven, or do you guys do in regular patrols identify places that need to be cleaned up as well?
In previous years, we've done regular patrols, and we'll get back to that as soon as we can. Most of our time has been spent doing EMO stuff in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so right now, Curtis, if there's areas or addresses that are of concern to anybody, if you can direct them to report it to City Hall, we will be doing regular patrols probably in the coming months, but just as the snow's just melted, we're doing it on a complaints-driven basis.
I understand that for sure. I would like to see us take, I'd like to take an assertive role on remedying the properties instead of waiting for complaints. If we can get that sort of with our controls first, I think that would be a good message to the citizens that we are doing that. Joe, what would be the number sort of that you're kind of commonly looking at every spring on average? I guess I know you talked about some numbers, but sort of what would you guys do with once the melt goes away?
Last spring, between May, it's not in the report, Jessica. The breakdown of when the nuisance abatement properties happened, but between May and July, we had 90 ongoing in that 2-month process.
That's quite a
So I
few.
don't know if any of the other councilors agree, but that'd be certainly a measure I would like to have for sure looked at, and I can only speak for myself on that though. So hopefully we can get direction from the rest of council.
I completely agree with you, Mr. Paler.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I also had a concerned resident come forward and talk to me about a noise bylaw that he's been, some noise issues that he's been dealing with for a year, and he doesn't feel that the city has really dealt with the issue properly. And I'm just wondering if council has privy to any kind of information regarding if there's been any letters sent or any discussion made with the person who is supposedly causing the issue, or if this is another privacy concern that cannot be shared with anyone.
No, we are aware of the file that you're talking about, and there was 2 different noise issues that were reported. All of them have been followed up on, and I have been included on the most recent one, and action was taken within a couple of hours of the complaint being filed. So, and response was given to the property owner. I think in this instance, the property owner didn't necessarily like the response or the rules that were in place, which is a completely separate detail, but the most recent complaint came in, I want to say the middle of last week, and a response was given to them and with an action plan for how their concerns would be addressed within a number of hours.
If this is related to a noisy pump issue, I think just putting a timer on it would probably solve the issue of it kicking in late at night. It's just my opinion.
For sure.
Okay. Any other questions for Joe on this? On his report?
Has there been any discussion about possibly looking at banning garage sales for the near future?
So there actually has been at the provincial level a discussion, and we're waiting on feedback whether it is banned under the provincial order or whether municipalities need to take action. This was a question that came up out of the conference call right after the Reopen Saskatchewan plan was announced. The general consensus is that garage sales are not something that should be allowed to go forward. The discussion was around whose jurisdiction it is to take care of that. So I believe we should have more answers to that after Tuesday's conference call, but it's definitely on the radar and discussions have happened.
Okay, thanks, Dana. Any other questions for Joe?
I'll move the
All
report.
right, Curtis moved Joe's report. Do we have a seconder for that? Ron? All in favor of the bylaw report? Anyone opposed? And that's carried. Thank you very much, Joel, for putting that together for us.
No worries. Thank you
Lots of
guys.
Information there. All right, we are going to move on to the 2019 engineering report. I believe we have Rocky with us this evening. Is Rocky there?
I
I'm
think
gonna say no.
Rocky, you should be unmuted now.
Okay. Okay. So on 2019, we did few medium to large size project. We did few smaller project, and we submitted few grant application. We did some asset management work. So I can go over the summary of those report, and then if you have any questions, then I can answer them. So the biggest project we did is the paving project. That was over $2 million, and we paved one block on 30th Street West, 3 blocks on 2nd Street West, 1 block on 2nd Avenue East, on 1 block on Bridget Drive, Palanchuk Place, Maureen Crescent, Marion Crescent. We also paved 50th Street West, and we also paved about 2,900 square meter of utility patches. And all of those paving were combination of fully structure revealed and milling and paving. On 50th Street West, we did a water and sewer replacement project. So as part of that project, we replaced about 340 meter length of 250 millimeter diameter sanitary sewer pipes. We replaced 5 manholes, and we also replaced same lengths of AC water pipes with PVC pipes. And the total cost for that project was about $517,000. So we also paved those 2 blocks on 50th Street West last year. Then we did a sidewalk repair project. So as part of that project, we replaced about 198 meter length of sidewalk, replaced about 298 meter length of curb, replaced 118 meter of combined sidewalk and curb, and also we replaced 8 cross sidewalk drains in the downtown area. Total cost for that project was just over $100,000. We did one project on Highway 55. So we applied CRF restorative seal oil on Highway 55, and total cost for that project was about $34,000. We submitted 3 grant applications, and 1 grant application was approved, disaster mitigation and adaptation fund project. It was approved last year, and the project will run up to 2027. The lift station project we are doing this year, that's one part of that project. The other parts are replacing common trench water and sewer on the east side, and the third component is moving the lagoon away from the city as part of that project. The other grant application we submitted is Invest in Canada Infrastructure Project grant application. So that was just the initial stage application. This year we have submitted the final stage application for that grant. We also submit another application to under Urban Highway Connection Program. To improve the condition of highway number 4, starting from the museum approach all the way up to the Highway 4 and 55 intersection. We also did few other infrastructures work. We replaced 8 hydrants last year. Total cost was about $125,000. We repaired or replaced about 12 valves. Total cost was about $69,000. We also installed 65 culverts. So Public Works staff did that work as in-house, but the material cost was about 26,000. We also did a lot of asset management works. Last year, our asset management coordinator joined in June 2019, and we prepared an asset management implementation plan, and we submitted that to council. Council also adopted asset management policy last year. We, as part of the asset management work, we entered most of the material, machinery, and equipment and their cost into the citywide software to make the citywide software as a functional asset management as a functional asset management platform. We also worked on establishing common ID between the TCA inventory and the GIS shapefile for valves and water pipes. We also attended a few training courses. One of the training courses was professional certification and asset management planning, 3-day workshop, a 3-day workshop on asset management, and also we attended few online webinars such as level of service development, risk management, and long-term financial planning. These are the summary of works we did on 2019.
Okay, thank you, Rocky. I'm just going to open it up to council. If anyone has any questions or comments towards Rocky that he can answer while he's here with us this evening. I have one question, Rocky. Were you satisfied with the work that was done with in regards to the sub work, milling, etc., and the final paving projects that were done throughout the city?
Yes, but with regards to paving, is that there are more and more pavement kind of falling apart, and the strategy we are taking is going forward is a kind of a proactive approach. So going forward, we won't be just replacing the streets that are totally falling apart. So we will also gonna do preventative maintenance so that to make sure the most of the streets they leave their most of the service lives. So that way, I think we'll be able to catch up on this, improve the street conditions. So I think we did a lot of work, but there is still a lot of work needs to be done.
Okay, but my question, well, are you happy with the quality of work that was done by the contractor?
Yes, yes. I haven't heard any concern about the contractor's work, and they're mostly okay.
So do we have any
Okay, no, I'm not inferring anything. I just wanted to make sure that you're happy with the work. Richard, you were going to say?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we have any indication of when the open cuts will be being started to be repaired for pavement.
Sorry, you mean the paving project?
Yeah.
So this year, contractor will start moving their equipment on the week of May 11th, and on that week they will start their project.
I also noticed that on Highway 55, there's some parts of it that are still skimming off the top there. I was wondering if we could maybe put some coal mix or something on there so that it doesn't break up any worse than it is.
Yes, so on Highway 55, back on 2018, we did a lot of spot milling and paving, and on 2019 we did that CRF application works. But there is still few spots that I think we should fix. But we'll have to see what will be the right repair option, whether it's putting cold mix or milling and paving those spots. And so we'll have to, I guess, come up with a plan to fix those spots.
Okay, are there any other questions for Richard? Do you have anything else for Rocky?
I was just wondering if there's any type of oil treatment that we can use on some of the areas where the pavement is alligated, but it hasn't broken up yet. If that can stabilize it to a point where it can last for another year or two.
So on Highway 55, we applied the CRF oil, and that CRF oil is it has asphalt rejuvenating agent, but on all those pavement where we have those alligator cracks, and so usually alligator cracks occur when the base and sub-base they're in poor condition, right? And only the best treatment is in that case would be digging up the street, right? But we can put down the oil, we can put some kind of surface treatment, but when base and sub-base are in poor condition, I guess the surface treatment would be a very temporary fix. So so I guess if the base and sub-base are in good shape, then we can definitely put some kind of treatment on the surface. So yeah, that can be looked at. If the base and sub-base are in good condition, then the surface can be fixed.
Generally, what you would use is an HF 150 type oil and put it down and then blot it with gravel to deal with that. And that's just basically going to seal up the cracks. So the water doesn't penetrate into the subgrade. It's not a long-term fix, especially if it's alligated. It's at the end of its life.
Yeah. That's basically sand sealing. Yeah. So this year we will do that thin leaf preventative maintenance on quite a few streets, but those should perform better than the sand sealing. So we will put that 15 to 20 millimeter lift on 9th Avenue and East Service Road. So they should perform better than the sand sealing. But for sure in future we can look at where the sand sealing would work.
Yeah, I realize the sub-base is getting eroded, but I was just thinking if we could seal the moisture from going down any further, it would at least allow the road to maybe be used another couple of years
Yes.
before we have to really go in there and.
So this year in our paving project, that thin lift application that we will be doing, that is basically intended to seal the surface so that where we have those small cracks and that kind of prevents the moisture to penetrate. Right now what happens in most of the alligator cracks, when we are able to see those from the top, they actually at that time they actually become quite large, that they starts to deteriorate the base and sub-base. So I guess with those preventative maintenance work, when we will put the thin lift, we're gonna have to, I guess, make sure that we put those lifts on the streets where the base and sub-base not in poor shape. Base and sub-base is in fairly good shape. In a lot of these streets where we see alligator cracks, their base and sub-base are in already poor shape. So on those streets, I guess the surface treatment would not work very good. But I guess this year we have East Service Road, we have 9th Avenue, we have 50th Street between 7th Avenue and 9th Avenue. On all of those streets, we know that the base and sub-base are in fairly good shape, and that 15 to 20 millimeter lift that we planned for this year, that I think that will work very good.
Conrad, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I mean, it's sand sealing that's going to fix some of the things that Richard had brought up, and there's not a lot of contractors that can do it. There was a contractor I seen doing the Fields parking lot last year, the year before. It's about $2.50 a square meter to do it. So
And if it's something that we haven't tried before, it's something that we can look at for future years. But I think the project plan for this year is set for where the locations will be.
I also thought that highways owed us one more lift of pavement on Highway 4, but I might be wrong.
They do.
They do?
They do,
Yeah.
which is why we applied for the Urban Highway Connector program funds. The problem is that program, the capital component doesn't generally have enough money to accommodate the applications that they get.
Too bad we can't use that negatively priced oil to use the pavement. They should be paying us for mixing that.
Okay, anyone else have any questions for Rocky?
Well, I move the adoption of the report then. Tom,
Seconder,
I'll second it.
second by Richard. All in favor of receiving the report? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to city manager's departmental overview report. Diana, I'm going to turn this over to you. If I don't expect you to read through it, if I'm assuming everyone has had a chance to run through and read it over. Do you have
So
anything to add to it, Diana?
I do apologize that this was 2 months worth of reports put into one. And when I went through and was gonna do a summary of what I have been doing for the last 2 months personally, I counted it out and there was about excess of 50 to 60 conference calls or Zoom calls from the 15th of March through to the 15th of April. So that was the vast majority of my time. But if there's any questions, then I will attempt to answer them or get back to you.
Okay, does anyone have any questions to bring forth to Diana?
I have 2 questions. The one clarification I need is, you state that public work has seen a significant staffing drop of 30 to 50% due to the COVID-19. I'm not sure what that means.
So it's due to our increased diligence with requesting that staff not come to work with any symptoms of any illness, which is the recommendation and sort of the same strategy that most places are taking. So it has affected public works more than other departments.
And the other question
And
I
maybe
have,
just to add to that, Diana, some of the Parks and Rec staff, I believe there's 3 of the Parks and Rec staff that have been helping out Public Works as they can with their qualifications and stuff. So the various departments are helping each other out.
Yeah, definitely. There's some Parks and Rec staff who switch over to do some of the skilled and unskilled level of labor work. So they've been doing some pothole patching and they did some water meter reads, and that is expected to continue throughout the summer. But it's not, we don't have reports of any staff members who have COVID-19, but it's more just our increased diligence with making sure that people with any symptoms of any illness aren't coming to the workplace.
okay, the other
And
question.
the
I had
second one,
was
Richard?
the one case file for ATV Act, it says 1 inquiry for driving without a driver's license. I'm not sure what that means. There shouldn't be anybody driving ATVs within the city, whether they have a license or not.
No, I would have to ask by law about that, so I can get back to you on that one, Richard.
Actually, Mr. Harrison can probably verify this, but Saturday, 2 side-by-sides and a quad came ripping through the city from the east along Railway Avenue. They cut across the highway, stopped at 7-Eleven for whatever, then they went back across, and then they went down the service road, cut back across to KFC, went down the service road, stopped at the Northwester, picked up some booze, and then they headed south. And I did phone the RCMP, but I never got any response. And I never got any call back either. And I believe.
Did you get the license number off the ATVs?
Yeah, right. They asked me if I could identify the drivers. I said, well, they're wearing helmets.
Okay. Any other questions towards Diana? Seeing none, looking for a motion to receive Diana's report.
Glenn,
Glenn moved. We have a seconder.
I'll second it. Oh, okay.
Conrad, second. All in favor of receiving the report? Anyone opposed? And that is carried. All right, moving on to the RCMP report for the first quarter of 2020. There's some stats in there. We have been in contact with Sergeant Hurst. We're just trying to set up a meeting with our police commission and Diana. I think by the sounds of it, it might be next week, but I don't know that for sure yet. The last scheduled meeting was not able to move forward. So with this report, if anyone has any questions or comments, I know our last meeting, we had talked about the significant requests that the city would like to pass forward to the RCMP to move forward with their APP, etc. I believe the priorities basically stayed the same as last year. I have them written down in the order of 1 through 5, or sorry, 1 through 6. I'm just going to read these back if anybody needs to correct. I've got crime prevention and visibility within the community is number 1. Communication with the city and its residents, number 2. Number 3 is clamping down on organized crime and gang activity within the community. Number 4 is traffic. That would be traffic laws, etc. Number 5, the drug trade that's going on, the methamphetamine and drugs within the community. And number 6, Aboriginal community involvement. That was the 6 steps that we had prioritized for the APP that was scheduled for the 18th of March. Is that correct, or does anyone have anything to add moving forward to our meeting?
Just in regards to the spreadsheet, I think they've got an error in their formulas. So if you look at the 2020 January to March on the very first one on assaults, it's 89, but yet the year to date for 2020 is 384. Even if you go back, well, all the way down there, and even if you go to the, the year to date 2019 on that same line, and 2019 life to date, year to date, those two numbers should almost match, shouldn't they?
I can clarify with Sergeant Hurst, and if it requires an updated report, I can ask him to send that forward.
Well, I just think if you look at the year to date for 2020 and all of them, I mean, stats are pretty bad. I mean, if you look at total reported incidents to date is 5,996 at the very bottom.
Yeah.
So
I think the year to date should be the same as the January to March.
But I believe.
Well, there's no way we had 5,996 total reports already in 3 months when all other ones for the full year have been the highest prior to that is 5,297.
So our year starts January,
but I think,
right?
Conrad, their
Their fourth quarter.
This is their fourth quarter report.
Oh, they have the quarters. Yeah.
Their year starts April 1st, so that would be the last 12 months.
Yeah.
So shouldn't that be, I don't know. 2020 is what I think should be 2019.
I mean, we can maybe get them to clarify the heading so that it says 1920 on the year to date stuff, but their calendar or their operational year is April 1st to March 31st. So
that would compare to the 2019
versus 4.
So then maybe they are accurate then.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah.
We could just see if Sergeant Hurst could just clarify that heading.
I'll double check, but I'm fairly certain that's probably the explanation. I will report back to council when I have an answer on that.
Okay, thank you. Need a motion to receive the RCMP report.
I'll move to receive it.
Motion by Conrad. Do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second.
Ron, thank you. Any other comments? All in favor of receiving the report? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Moving on to item number 5 is the COVID-19 community survey response. The results have been tabulated by our city clerk. Jessica or Diana, do you want to speak on this? Sorry.
No, I think Jessica or myself could field any questions if there were any.
Okay. Any questions for Diana or Jessica? Being none, going to look for a motion to receive this report.
Or I'll make it, Tom.
Tom, do we have a seconder? Who was, yeah. Who was that? Curtis, sorry. All in favor of receiving? Okay, opposed? And it's carried. Council committee reports. This is where you have the opportunity to let us know what you've been doing in the last couple of weeks since our last meeting. Any things that you have attended on behalf of the city? I'm just going to go through my pictures here. Conrad, do you have anything? No. Richard?
Nope.
Ron?
Nope.
Curtis? I'll take that as a no. Tom?
We had one more conference call with the Lakeland Library Board again last week. They're sort of cleaning up some of the issues around acting while the period of with COVID here, with most of the libraries are all completely closed. So anyway, had that. We had another call. We've been pretty active actually with believe it or not, with this library thing. But anyway, all good. We're getting there. We're also though pretty low on the list as far as the opening phases. Would we say 4, Diana? Phase 4, where we might expect some libraries to be open. So
I want to say it was 3 or 4, and I can't remember what I quoted in the email to council out of the conference call last week, but it's one.
I'm just grabbing it here.
I think it was 4. So I guess down the road, we may, as a board, we are anticipating, or I guess anticipating, or we'll see where it goes, depending on when it is phased back in, some requests for levy reductions from the municipalities, of which the city's one of them. So I guess we'll have to see how that goes forward.
Do you need something formal, Tom, or are you fine with advocating for that? Or not?
No, I can certainly advocate, but if we haven't had a formal discussion, it's been, I think they're in anticipation. Once we have a bit of a firmer grasp on when this might happen, because I think it'll fit in. I think, Diana, when it was in the larger sporting event, larger events. Now, I'm not sure that there's been a lot of, although you said you asked a question and they came back to you with, it was level 4 or phase 4, which somewhat surprises me, but anyway.
The answer was asked in the conference call, and it was clarified right at the end of the conference call. So they had got confirmation. So thought had been given to it, and it was able to confirm that most definitely. If you're wanting more of the justification for why that was, if I'm remembering correctly, it was around the access and the different people using, like the touching of books and the using the internet and the computers.
And
But
the
definitely, if
computers,
you're
yep.
wanting more clarification, I'm sure the mayor could ask in the conference call that we have tomorrow. But definitely, if you're thinking or suggesting that there needs to be some sort of letter or anything from the city on to the library board asking them to look into that, if it's already on their radar, maybe that's fine. But I
Yeah.
think from our perspective,
I don't think we need to draft something right now, but I'll certainly keep council informed.
Yeah, it is phase 4. I've just got a copy of the
Yeah.
reopened Saskatchewan plan.
And I sort of wonder about that a little bit, just personally. When you can go to Costco and go pick up every book there and look at it and keep on going.
and I think the other thing was bookstores were included in a different.
Yeah, bookstores can open, I think in phase 2, which when I first looked at it, I figured, okay, well, libraries won't be that closed that long. I was a little surprised that they're in phase 4. Yeah. Okay, I'll keep you up to speed.
There's very little chance of paper or books passing on COVID. Very, very, very slight.
Yeah, I can see the computer thing maybe a little bit, but you just close your computers out. I mean, maybe a little bit more on the computers, but anyway, we'll see where it goes. There's a lot of questions around a lot of things,
Yes.
so I'm sure as they move forward, there'll be some fine tuning.
Yeah. Anything else there, Tom?
No, that was it.
Glenn, do you have anything for you, Glenn? Oh, okay.
No, there isn't.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry, I'm not a very good lip reader.
Gotta work on that.
Okay, just couple things that I've been a part of, again with Ms. Diana, Tuesdays and Thursdays morning. I have a city mayor's meeting prior. That's with all the city mayors and city managers throughout the province, just seeing what's going on in each community, etc. And then in the afternoon, we have a meeting with, or we're able to submit questions to the Minister of Government Relations prior to the meeting that we have with the minister on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1:30. Again, all the city managers and city mayors throughout the province have a conference call with Minister Carr. Very good response. Diana had went through last Thursday and had asked a bunch of questions beforehand, and I believe Minister Carr answered every question that was on there, and there was only one other question that day. And so thanks, Diana, for putting that together. You and Jessica, awesome job. And one of the questions that was posed was with our contractors, our paving contractors moving in to Meadow Lake, they had requested to use the Lions Park for camping. They're moving in, I believe it's the week of May 11th. And with the reopened Saskatchewan plan, campgrounds would not be open until June 4th. I had asked that question on Thursday to the minister, and Minister Carr actually called me this morning and said that we will be allowed to open up the Lions Park for the contractors for the municipal work. Still keeping in mind the distancing, it'll be every second site that they will be able to use, not each site. Will not be open to the public until after the reopen. I believe it's May 4th.
June 1st.
June 1st for the rest of the campground. Yeah.
June 1st for opening to the public. But Minister Carr did call today and say that we would be allowed to open up for our contractors. So
Good.
I did talk to Jessica, Diana, and they were going to pass it on to Rocky so he could let the contractor know that we will be able to do that. So thanks again, Diana, for putting that together, and Minister Carr getting back to us today. I also attended long-term care meeting was last Wednesday, I believe it was. It was just another day, but we were on with, sorry, that was with Mr. Brent Stewart. Long-term care update. The surrounding communities were included with that, with the RM of Beaver, Dorntosh, Green Lake, surrounding communities, the RM as well. And during that meeting, just kind of gave us an update of what's going on. The testing and assessment at the Civic Center seems to be going quite well. And with that meeting, Tina Rasmussen, the administrator for Green Lake, invited me to participate in the Northern Mayors. They have a meeting every day to discuss what's going on in the northern communities. So I took part in that meeting last Thursday. It was like 2.5-hour phone conference, lots of information. They're very concerned with the people moving around within different communities. And again, that was brought up today to me, that a concern with all the cases that are popping up in the north and those people that are coming into Meadow Lake to do the shopping. We have to be able to somehow get to them that there's rules and regulations in place by the province for social distancing, and a truckload of 6 people don't need to go into the grocery store or the hardware store or the lumber yard to do the shopping. We have to be able to somehow convey to them that come in here shopping, that's great if you're doing that, but do it responsibly. So we're working on trying to convey that again. I did talk to Tina again on Friday. I wasn't a part of the meeting on Friday, but I had other things on go, but they are fully aware. And just like any other community, there is 90 to 95% of the people follow the rules and regulations.
I think we lost our leader.
Yeah, I think so.
Mayor. Deputy Mayor, do you want to call a brief recess?
I so moved to have a brief recess to fix our technical difficulties
Sure.
at this time.
Thank you.
He's back.
Oh,
Oh,
that was
there
a
he
recess. We just took a
I
recess
I
to
had
get
a-
you back, leader.
pushed the wrong button.
Sorry, I had a phone call coming in from the deputy minister. Jeremy just texted me. The deputy minister was calling me in regards to a concern that I had today, and I'll share that a little bit later. So I have to call him back after we're done this meeting. My apologies. So, anyways, we have to somehow figure out how we can convey this message to the people in the outlying communities that are coming into Meadow Lake to do the shopping. Did you catch the 90 to 95% comment that I was making?
That was right when you cut out, Merlin.
Okay, good. That's when I cut out. Okay. So just basically lots of Zoom calls, lots of phone conference calls, and working together with the Northern community and the rest of the province. We're just trying to do the best that we can. Today the numbers opened up again. I believe it was 11 new cases, 12 new cases today, 12 new cases. So with this opening or the reopen Saskatchewan plan, just want to kind of pass on that if the numbers start to go backwards, they're going to pull the reins back. They're not flipping the switch just to open it up, just to get the economy going. They're doing, with all the information that they're getting throughout the province and feedback from communities, whether it be there's villages, towns, cities, you name it, RMs. They're doing a slow and methodical approach to doing the reopen Saskatchewan thing, which I personally feel is a really good idea, as long as people realize that there's still the distancing that has to be followed. The rules are in place. They're opening to try and help things out, but everyone's got to be aware, and the non-compliance, I'm just going to use this again, non-compliance. If you see stuff going on, groups of 20 or 30 people getting together, call them in. If you know the people, phone them and tell them to, hey, there's rules in place. We got to keep on top of this thing. Where was I going with that? Again, he opened it up to small groups. I'm just going to expand on that. If you want to get together with your family, like say Conrad, you want to get together with your daughter. We did this weekend. You can have your small group of friends over. My daughter and son-in-law came up for the day. We said to them before they came, that's fine that you come, but go to other friends and other friends tomorrow and other friends tomorrow. Keep your circles nice and tight and small. If you want to get out, that's part of the reopen package. But the distancing and keep your groups small. That's kind of the message in a nutshell. Diane, do you have anything else to add in regards to that?
No, and I think after your phone call after this meeting, and I believe that there'll be
So that's basically
some discussion tomorrow during the conference call, because I know Prince Albert had brought up similar concerns about like our communities are the gateways to the north. So I think there will be more on this. Yep,
and we'll report that back as well. Okay, so that's basically about it for me. Does anyone else have anything to add? Being none, going to move on. We have, do we have to receive those reports? No, we don't. Moving on to a proclamation coming up in the third week in May is Public Works Week. So we signed that off, and that'll go out in the local paper, etc. Okay, moving on to correspondence. There is none. Old business.
Council inquiries.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Council inquiries. Sorry, I have too many papers going here. This is where council has the opportunity to ask administration questions, concerns, things that have been brought forward to us that we would like to have looked at. I'm gonna go to the list here. I'm gonna do it backwards. Glenn, do you have anything?
No.
Okay, Tom?
No.
Curtis?
Nothing.
Ron?
Nope, nothing this time.
Okay, Richard?
The only comment I had was the work at home policy or whatever. I presume the timesheets would indicate how many hours an individual worked at home and how many hours they worked somewhere else.
Yeah, there is a breakdown on the timesheets.
That's all I have.
Okay. Conrad?
No inquiries.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on. Now we'll go to old business. We have temporary penalty deferral bylaw that he brought forth at our meeting on April the 14th. We're just looking to bring it forward for a second reading tonight and third, if so which. Go ahead.
I'll move to give it second reading.
Richard moved to give it second reading. Do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second it.
Second, okay. Richard, do you have any comments?
Nope.
Conrad?
Nope, no comments.
Okay. All in favor of giving this bylaw a second reading tonight? Opposed? And that is carried. If we wish, we can bring it forward for a third reading.
Also move to give it third reading.
Okay, we have a seconder for that.
Tom will second it then.
Okay, Richard, could I just bother you to read the recommendation, if you wouldn't mind?
That bylaw 3/2020 temporary penalties amendment bylaw be read a third time and adopted.
Okay, I believe for this, we have to have a unanimous.
No, you don't.
No,
You don't?
No, because you're not doing it all at one meeting. You introduced
Oh,
it
right.
the first time at the last meeting and you're doing the other two readings at this meeting.
Right, if we do all three at one meeting, we have to be unanimous. My bad. So all in favor of? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. All right. Moving on to March 2020 accounts payable report. Looking for a motion to receive.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ron. We're looking for a seconder.
I'll second it, Richard.
Second by Richard. Anyone have any questions? Ron, do you have any questions in regards to the AP?
Nope. Nope.
Richard?
I just had one question. The city of Prince Albert sundry items, $3,675. What was that for?
Sorry, we do a group purchasing agreement with the city of Prince Albert. It's part of the way we're doing our group tender. And there is a the fee that they collect is for a software that we have that lists and our contractors can list themselves on there so that we're available. We're aware of who offers services in more remote places. So I think there's 14 or 15 different municipalities who are a member of this, and it's those in the areas who are outside of Saskatoon and Regina and sometimes have issues getting service areas and or getting services to our area, and it opens it up for when we're doing purchases or smaller places are doing purchases to leverage larger places to try and get better prices.
Basically, it's just to add on to that, it's just a bigger buying group. So for example, the city of Meadow Lake can jump on the back of Prince Albert, where their purchasing power is a lot greater than ours are. But if we're grouped together with them, we can receive the same discounted price on various commodities that we require within the city.
And we had signed a 2-year contract the last time we signed a contract, and it expires at the end of this year, and will be investigated what the benefit has been, if there is a benefit to continue this relationship.
Okay. Any other questions in regards to? Diana, I do have a couple here on some of the suppliers' names going through. For example, check number 9433. it just shows Meadow Lake. Like, I'm just wondering if there's a way that ASMA could, or whoever's doing the inputting. Majority of them are good, but there are some that.
It might just be a formatting
Just-
issue, but I can definitely have her look into it and I can get a new copy forwarded out and added if there are changes that need to be made. But if there's any specific ones that you have a question about, we could maybe look them up. But otherwise, I can get the report updated.
No, I'm good with them because I signed off on these on the checks, but I just for everyone else, like some of them, for example, at 9433, it just says Meadow Lake.
Yeah.
Where did it go to? Like, who is it for? So just to make sure that the actual business name is on there. It's not a big deal, but the information would be nice to have.
Yeah, most definitely. And council just receives this report for information, so it's up to them if they want it amended. It's not approved or adopted in any way, shape, or form, but
Yep.
I could definitely look into that.
Okay, thank you. So all in favor of receiving the March 2020 AP report? Anyone opposed? That's carried. I wasn't sure, Conrad, if you had your hand up for opposed or if it was just a long one. All right, moving on to March 2020 financials. Looking for a motion to receive. Someone want to bring this to the
I'll make a
table and then we
motion
can
to
have
receive
a.
the financial statements.
Okay, thanks, Richard. Do we have a seconder?
Curtis.
Curtis, thank you. Richard, do you have any questions? There's lots of information in there. There is some highlighted items.
I appreciate the change in the final column to March 9th or 2019 year to date, but I think it would still be more informative if we had finalized audited year-end amounts in that column, so at least we can compare last year's total amounts to this year's budget figures.
Yeah, when we have audited financial statements, that can likely be updated.
Sounds good.
Anything else, Richard?
Nope.
Okay, Curtis, do you have any questions or comments?
No.
Okay, open it up to anyone else. Does anyone else have any questions that we can bring forward? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of receiving the March 2020 financials? Anyone opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay. Number 3 is 2020 first quarter financial report. It just kind of gives a breakdown of the ins and outs of the first quarter, revenue and expenses. I guess we'll look for a motion to receive this and then we can have any questions or comment.
I'll make the motion to receive. Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
I'll second it.
You have a
Conrad.
seconder?
Conrad.
Second by Conrad. Yep. Tom, do you have anything to add?
No, I just, the way I read it is, I guess, right now we're sort of anticipating maybe a deficit of 150,000 against our budget. Is that the way I read it?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's pending either reductions or other pressures that might come up, but yeah, okay.
Okay. Conrad?
No, no questions.
Okay, so with the COVID thing, I'm just gonna
There's
have.
so many variables.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of an offset with not having rentals, but on the same side of it, we're cutting back on the expenses for
Fences, yeah.
for example, the cleanings and stuff like that. So in
It's-
the big scheme of things, it's not quite as bad as initially thought, is my perspective on it. I was just listening to Mayor
Saskatoon,
Clark from Saskatoon this
Yeah.
morning, and they're forecasting if everything keeps going like this and is shut down till I believe it was December, they're looking at like a $68 million deficit. But
Yeah,
then
and
he got
our
into
and our forecast
that?
would be a September 1st. And some of this work was done before the Reopen Saskatchewan plan was placed out there, but of course we don't know the actual dates of when a bunch of our facilities can open. But having sat on the conference calls that the mayor's been privy to, and as well the city managers group has a weekly conference call, there is a stark difference in the effect to communities that operate transit systems and those that don't. The ones that operate transit systems are seeing a greater impact, most definitely. And I think if any of you have reviewed the lobbying that FCM is looking to do to the federal government, there is a differentiation. They are asking for funding to all municipalities, and then they're asking for a separate fund for communities that operate transit systems.
Yeah, the public transit and public parking is a huge one in Saskatoon, Regina, and Moose Jaw specifically. That's one thing that Mayor Clark referred to this morning when I was watching his newscast. But Dan, do you have anything to add onto Asma's report here?
No, if there's any questions, I can answer them or direct them to her and follow up.
Just as a note, it's a ruling that cities cannot have a deficit operating budget. So with that, depending on how long this lasts, how much it impacts the city, we may have to look at cutting certain things just to so we're not running a deficit.
Yeah, most definitely. So the rules for municipalities are a little bit different than the rules for provinces or the federal government. And that's that municipalities can't budget for a deficit. So they have to plan how their dollars are going to be spent, understanding that the budgets are a target and things do change throughout the year. But municipalities are not allowed to borrow for operating expenses. And so that would be the other part of that, where some higher levels of government are able to do that. And that's what they're doing if you're looking at the plans that the federal government's releasing and the programs and the money that they're spending. We are not able to do that. So at the end of the day, we can't borrow money to pay our lighting and heating bills or to pay salaries for staff. We can borrow money for capital expenses.
Can we move from reserves?
You can, depending on how your reserves are set up and what they were stipulated to be put away for, what the money was stipulated to be put away for.
Which we decided.
Correct.
and could change if you had to. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Anything else? Okay, looking for just a vote, I guess. All in favor of receiving first quarter financial report? Anyone opposed? Yeah, that is carried. All right. Next, we have a Public Works rate review and update. Administration has went through, I believe the last time that this rate review was done, where did I read that?
2015.
Some of them had 2015, and some of the assets did not have a rate tag to them, if you will. So administration, I believe this is a part of the asset management program, and just looking to put dollar value to some of the rates that are or should be charged for our equipment
Yeah,
and
so
operators.
it is an update for asset management purposes so that when they're recording what the maintenance cost of an asset is, they have some sort of dollar value for the amount of time spent maintaining it. But also there was notes of things that that were maybe not clarified or were missing from the bylaw. So Jessica maybe can speak a little bit more in depth to this, but it was a combined overall update to the policy. Sorry, not the bylaw.
Yeah, and I'll just add, there's two things here. This policy is our rates we charge out to the public, be that residents or contractors. That's what's in this chart here is rates that we might charge out. Section 6 that's added in also speaks to asset management planning rates. Those are set in this report here. List of equipment rates developed for planning use. This is equipment that we do not ever rent out for any reason, but still want a planning rate attached to it. And this policy amendment basically just gives the asset management coordinator the authority to review and update these rates as needed as more equipment is purchased.
Could we leave the increases until after the COVID-19 is cleared up?
Well, I don't, how often do we rent, if you will, our equipment out to contractors? I don't think it's that often, is it? It's more of just a tracking.
Isn't terribly often. I think the report outlines the total dollar value that it is in our budget each year, and each of these is what, or most of these are what are being done in practice. The policy was just missing a bunch of rates. So Jessica, I'm not certain that this is an increase.
No, in some cases it's actually a decrease or making more consistent. They now all include the operator within the rate, where sometimes it was half that they did and half they didn't. Some of it's clearing up. We had 3 separate rates for freezing water lines. We picked one and we're sticking with it. A lot of these services are used when Public Works responds to nuisance bylaw orders and the city has to clean up a property when a property owner refuses to do it. Some of these rates are when there is a service line break and it is on the owner's side and the city responds to it. The most frequent rates would definitely be the curb stop, turn on and off, or the thawing of service lines. Those would be the ones we charge out the most frequently throughout the year, or in the sewer camera.
I'm not opposed to the policy or the need for the policy. I'm not questioning any of that. I don't want to see any increases until after we got phase 5 back.
So if that's the choice, then probably the easiest option would be for council to table this. As we said, we presented it for other reasons as well, but if the will of council is not wanting these rates to come into effect, you could either table it and bring it back, because I don't think we have a date that we can set it as becoming effective to, because I don't know that any of us know when this is going to be done.
I think if I look at most of the rates have went down.
And I'm not opposed to them going down. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Don't have an increase. You'll hear about that when you give them a break on one side and then take more money on the other. And that's my only concern.
Okay.
Yeah,
But what number of
the operator, they are going down for the most part.
Sorry, what's that, Jessica?
That I believe with the inclusion of the operator, most of the rates are going down or staying the same.
Because sometimes the operator would have been charged separately from the rate with the way that the policy was written prior.
are the ones that no, only a limited number of these are used, actually. I know some you've set up just for the asset management process, right? Are the ones,
Nothing that's included in the policy is used for asset management. The stuff that's used for asset management was in that separate report.
yeah, no, that's what I meant. But the ones, I guess, for see if with Glenn's concern, are any of the ones that I guess that we actually do rent out, are they going up, or are they either staying the same or going down? Do we know?
It's outlined in the policy. It's
Yeah,
in front of you in the document.
Yeah, no, but I'm not sure exactly which ones are consistently rented out or which ones aren't, but
the most frequent charges on here would be the flushing, the sewer camera, and stops, and those rates are not going up. The lawnmower rates are not going up. They're just actually being written down somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna,
the two backhoes actually went down, and so if you're doing a dig on private property, it's actually less money to the property owner than before.
yeah, so that's
If
what
you
I'm
look at
sort
the
of saying, that
backhoe-
most of them are the same or less. You know, is there a benefit in tabling it when really there's no harm under Glenn's, you know?
Okay. If you're saying none increase, okay. There's no increases, fine.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of the public works policy as presented?
Nobody's made a motion yet.
Nobody made a motion. Sorry.
Nobody made a motion yet? I'm
Yeah, I did.
sorry.
I did, Rick. You
Yeah.
didn't hear me.
I think maybe it was Glenn that made the motion, but he didn't have his mute button off. I didn't see it. Sorry, my apologies.
No, I did not make the motion.
No, I was just.
I'll motion that the
teasing,
public works rate policy 800-15-002 be amended as presented.
And I'll second
Okay.
it.
Second by Richard. Any final comments? Okay, all in favor of the recommendation as presented? Opposed? That's carried. Thanks for your work for putting that all together. All right, moving on to there was a request by one of the subcontractors to see if the city would be interested in selling some of the clay from the property south of town. And I had brought it forward to Diana just to do a little bit of investigation prior to the meeting. My reason for bringing it up prior to and having the work done was basically so we would not be responsible for holding anything up out there and have to wait for another 2 weeks to make a decision on this. So hopefully that's okay with everyone. I just kind of put the bull before the horn here to get the information prior to tonight. So if somebody wants to bring this forward, then we can have a little discussion on it, if you will.
Well, I'll move that the request to purchase clay from the city's inventory at below market rates for the construction of the long-term care facility be denied.
I'll second it.
Second by Glenn. Richard, do you have any comments, or would you like me to give a little background on this prior to?
No, I think this site has been discussed quite a bit over the last few years, and they should have a very good idea of what it's going to cost to develop it, and it shouldn't be at the backs of our clay supplies.
Okay. Yeah, the information is all in there. Just anything else there, Richard?
No, that's it.
Okay. Glenn, do you have anything to add?
No, nothing to add.
Tom here, just a question. Just a part here, however, we believe a rough estimate, the value of the clay is $180 to $600. That seems awful low.
We weren't
Yeah.
able to, in time for this report, get actual shots and an estimate of the volume. We did a rough estimate of the number of trucks that it could fill. And based on the two different amounts discussed in the report, I think that it isn't a significant request.
Okay, I was under the impression it was like 5 to 10,000 cubic meters, but
Actually, my initial discussions with the subcontractor, he was talking about a roughly 10 to 12,000 cubic meters. And the request, or when he was chatting to me about this, he said, be willing to pay a couple bucks a cubic meter. Well, Diana has went through and did a little bit of research from local contractors, what the going rate for this is, what for clay is. And even at 12 bucks a cubic meter times 12,000, I don't have a calculator, it's
that's 150,000.
$144,000, right?
Yeah, so that's why the 180 to 600 is, yeah, that's okay.
So that was based on, we were just told that it's, the contractor said half of what we had in a pile right now. I asked Public Works how big their pile right now is.
Okay, half of
So
what's
there might have
stored.
been some different numbers in
Okay,
mine.
no, fair enough.
So with my initial discussion with the subcontractor, I said, well, first of all, we would have to see, because I know we are doing some work in the future on the east side, which will require some a lot of clay, and it would be really silly for us to sell it to someone and then have to at a $2 a cubic meter and turn around and buy it at 10. So Diana had some discussion with the engineers and Public Works, and just it doesn't seem like the thing to do. I did have a conversation with his subcontractor. He called me today and said that he is very confident that he has found a supplier for clay as it stands right now. So
Oh, that's good.
he just wanted to, yeah, he
There's
wanted just to let me know and just keep him in mind if we change our mind. But I said depends on council tonight, and with him, with the probability of him securing other clay, I think it's kind of a non-issue. But it has
Okay.
been
Farmer.
brought to the table.
The
Merlin,
only
there's a
other
farm.
thing I would follow up with is when I did have a discussion with Public Works, they have got this request before. It has never come through a council member, and they've always said no because we use it for our own purposes, and it's never been something that's somewhat tied to us like the long-term care facility. And so they're completely willing to move forward at whatever direction council gives, but definitely some clarification or backing by this resolution would help them know whether or not they've made the right call, or in the future if there's going to be a policy to
There's
go.
a farmer 4 miles north on the Meadow River Road that dug a dugout there, and he's been trying to sell me clay for clay capping gravel.
Okay.
roads. So I mean that's
Okay.
pretty close there too.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he had contact, but he said he had a good possibility that he had found some today. So
Seems like they're getting some
Okay,
work
any
done.
other-
Yeah.
Yeah, they're moving lots of dirt. Okay, any other questions or comments in regards to this? Okay, all in favor of the motion to deny the request? Opposed? Sorry, Conrad, you had your hand up at the start or at the end?
At the start.
He's just slow. He's slow.
We just had one opposed.
No,
Okay,
not
that's-
me. Okay,
okay.
whatever.
That's carried then. Okay, no notice of motions. What do we have next? We have a little bit to discuss in closed meeting, so if someone would like to take us there,
Curtis,
Curtis?
City Council moved to a closed meeting, consider the following items: a matter related to contract negotiations, a matter related to legal advice, draft policy option, and third-party confidential information.
We have a seconder for that,
I'll second.
second by Ron, all in favor? Opposed, that's carried.